Welcome back to Clash of Cultures. Today we're going to be previewing Notre Dame taking on Duke in this week's College Game Day matchup. Obviously, Duke is having a historic season so far, beating Clemson in the Labor Day matchup in week one to their first 4-0 start in I don't know how long. Obviously, a top 20 team. Notre Dame coming off the loss to Ohio State, so they're looking to kind of bounce back in the top 25 matchup. So this should be a good one. But, Dad, what is your thoughts on Notre Dame traveling to Duke and kind of who you got in this game?
Yeah, so I think I said at the beginning of the season that I think Duke is going to surprise a lot of people. Obviously, and I'm not saying they've completed what they need to, but obviously the Clemson win was monumental for them, like you mentioned. So yeah, I think they have a very solid team with a lot of returns. We talk about Riley Leonard. Hasn't put up ridiculous numbers, but he's just done a good job of not turning the ball over. So only 2 touchdowns passing, but no interceptions, only 1 sack. He also is doing very well on the ground, a little bit under 100 yards a game. So yeah, he is playing solid ball and all around. They're not anything spectacular. Nobody's stats are like, oh my goodness, these are crazy. This guy is taking over. But they get nice contributions from a bunch of players. They're getting about 200 and about a little bit under 100 yards a game from their starting running back, from their number one receiver. So nothing that's crazy, but when you add all the sums of the parts together, they just make a solid team. What's your
Yeah, I
thoughts
think
on Duke?
I mean, obviously, this game, when you look at it, looks like a game that could be interesting. I think Notre Dame's going to win pretty convincingly. I think
Hmm.
after last week's game, with them losing in the last second touchdown, I think they're going to try to prove a point. Obviously, Duke beat Clemson, but like I said, I've said it a million times, I don't think that would happen again. Even on the stat sheet, it just didn't look like they should have won that game. Duke has the number 4 scoring defense in college football. Obviously, they held
Yes.
Clemson to 7. Then they held whoever else they played to low scoring. I don't know off the top of my head. I think one was like
So
Lafayette and some other
yeah,
people.
they played Northwestern. They held them to 14, Connecticut to 7, and Lafayette to 7. I mean, do you
Yes.
think this defense is for real?
Well, I think they're averaging like 9 points given up. I think Notre Dame's probably going to score like 30 on them. I don't think they can hold Notre Dame low. Um,
But I mean, who would have suspected that they held Clemson to 7? And I would
yeah, but
say,
but Clemson's offense was already like having concerns and questions, and I don't
mhm,
like I said. Clemson got a field goal blocked, they missed a field goal, and they fumbled 2 times on the 5-yard line. So I don't think if they played again, they would hold them to 7. I think that was an anomaly. So that's
okay.
why I think Notre Dame's going to be able to put up some points. I think Sam Hartman is leaps and bounds better than Cade Klubnik. I think the offensive line they have is better than Clemson's offensive line. I think Audric Esme is playing better than Will Shipley right now. So I just think overall, I think their offense is just better than Clemson's offense. So I think they're going to be able to put up more points. And Notre Dame's defenses look solid as well. Obviously, holding to Ohio State to what, 3 points at half?
Yeah, it's 3 at the
Yeah.
half.
So and Ohio State's offense is prolific. So I think Notre Dame's defense is playing better ball than
Yeah.
Clemson. I think their entire team is playing better ball than Clemson. So I think Notre Dame has a way better chance at beating Duke. Even though Duke obviously looked great in that Clemson game as well as all their other matchups, I just think Notre Dame's going to be too much for them. I don't know how much the home field advantage is going to play in this game. It could play a factor, but I think Notre Dame wins this game convincingly. Like I said, I don't think it's going to be very close. The surprising the glaring difference is going to be the air attack because I don't think Riley Leonard's just going to be able to run all over Notre Dame's defense. And if you only have 2 touchdowns in the first 4 games through the air, I don't think you can beat a team like Notre Dame doing that. And also, I don't think Duke's defensive line or linebacking core can stop their rushing attack. And if they do decide to, I don't think they can control Sam Hartman like Ohio State was able to late in that game. So I expect Notre Dame to win this game. I hope it's a good game. Obviously, just for like theatrics and stuff, it's the game day game. So I would hope that the game is good. But if I had to, I would say that they're going to win by 2 scores at least. I
Okay.
know Notre Dame is only a 5-point favorite, which is very surprising.
Yeah, I think five
Um,
guys. I'm looking at the line. It's 5.5 right now.
yeah, so if I do make bets this week, I'm definitely taking that because I think they're going to win by more than a touchdown. I just
Hmm.
think Notre Dame, like I said, has a sour taste in their mouth. They're going to come out smash mouth. They're going to kick Duke's teeth in. I don't like I said. I think this is where we're going to show that there's like levels. And again, Clemson is having a down season to Clemson standards. So I think this game
Well,
is good.
yeah, well, part of what you said is in terms of Duke beating Clemson, and mind you, I did not watch the game,
Mhm.
but you said it was just it wasn't so much like they beat Clemson. It was
If you look at the
unlucky
box score,
bounces.
yeah, if you look at the
No,
box
and that's
score,
what I'm
yeah,
saying.
this
So it wasn't.
it's
It
not even
was
close.
unlucky bounces and things of that nature more than it was. Now, this is the thing, and I did not. So I know you mentioned them fumbling twice,
Mhm,
inside the 10,
mhm.
with goal to go. Was that plays by Duke, or was it? And like I
No,
said, I haven't.
so one of them was a read option, and they dropped the ball between the read option, and the other
Okay.
one was Maffa tried to cut in, and he got hit and he fumbled.
Okay.
So and then we just missed a field goal on the 15-yard
Yeah.
line, and then a block field goal. So
Okay.
the one I'm pretty sure the one with the read option one, somebody picked it up and ran to the 20. One of the fumbles got picked up and ran all the way to the red zone. So I just think that wouldn't happen again. I don't think it's going to happen in Notre Dame. Obviously, Clemson fumbled again on Florida State against Florida State, so it's been turnover city for Clemson. So no knock to Duke. I just don't think that they'll be able to do that against another top 10-ish team in Notre Dame, and that's why I
Yeah.
think Notre Dame's going to win this game.
Yeah, I didn't talk much about Notre Dame, and obviously for Notre Dame, this is a redemption week. This can go either one of two ways. Either Notre Dame folds and has another bad week just because of hangover and disappointment in a very close, very exciting game, or they bounce back. I think when you have a veteran like Sam Hartman who played at Wake Forest, and I say that to say not that he wasn't good at Wake Forest, but he's obviously had some losses at Wake Forest. I think he's dealt with this. And obviously a veteran leader on that team. I think he can probably rally the troops and get them back up. So the only reason that I would pick Notre Dame is one, very simple. Jimmy's the Joes. Notre Dame probably recruits at a higher level. And Notre Dame does a good job on that line. I think they went, and I'm only mentioning this in the Ohio State game because I've seen them play twice now. I've seen them play in the Navy game, and I'll kind of throw that out. But in the Ohio State game, they rolled out about 5 different running backs. Just kind of different skill sets. They really tried to dominate the line of scrimmage and really did a halfway decent job. If you guys remember those second half drives of pounding the ball against Ohio State, which I think has a very stout defense. No knock to Duke because Duke, by the numbers, has a very stout defense as well. But in terms of star power, Jimmy's and Joe's, I would think most people would probably believe that Ohio State is probably a little bit better equipped. So if Notre Dame was able to move them off the ball, I think they're going to be able to move Duke off the ball, and I think that's really what's going to happen here. Again, I don't know much about Duke's secondary. I know they've found a way to be 4-0, but I think really Notre Dame, man for man, is just going to try to bully them. Just really try to play bully ball from the beginning. I think they're going to want some get back, so I would not be surprised. And I didn't mention the 5.5. I wouldn't be surprised if this game had a little bit wider of a spread, especially than a 5.5. But I think this Duke team, this Duke offense just seems to be timely. And the defense obviously is playing very well. I'm going to say, while I think Duke is going to win big, and these are two
Notre
very,
Dame?
I mean Notre Dame. I'm sorry. I think Notre Dame is going to win big. And I'm about to kind of yin and yang here. I would not be surprised if Duke is able to either keep this game very close or possibly pull off the upset. But if I was putting money down, and I think much like you, I would say I think they cover the 5.5. I think they want some get back. I think the fact that they didn't drop far in the poll, they probably feel really good, and they're going to be able to bounce back. And they know that they need to make statements, and they need statement wins. And a top 25 win after a top 25 loss would be very, very helpful.
I will say this: I think both of these teams, this game means everything for both their seasons. Obviously, if Notre Dame loses this game, they are out of the playoffs. Yeah. And I think if Duke wins this game, I think the way they're looking at it is we're not a basketball school anymore. You beat Clemson, who was a top 10 team, and then you beat Notre Dame. You go 5-0. Realistically, if Duke wins this game, they're probably going to be in the top 12. I don't know when the last time Duke was ever in the top 12 to 13, but I think 2 wins like this, and you're looking at maybe a 10-2 type season, because if you can beat Clemson and Notre Dame, obviously both of them at home.
They still got Florida State, and they're at Florida State. They have North Carolina, and they're at North Carolina.
But still, I mean, if you're able to beat Clemson and Notre Dame, I would say other than Florida State and Notre Dame are neck and neck. I mean, we don't really know. Obviously, we'll be able to tell more so when Clemson plays Notre Dame. But I mean, Clemson went to overtime with them, and you beat Clemson pretty handily. I mean, by the numbers or by the scoreboard.
That's cool, yeah.
So I'm not saying that game is impossible for them to win, but you have to have confidence if you're able to win this game. So I think it's major implications for both teams. I don't have Duke winning the ACC, but I think if they're able to win this game, they solidify themselves as a kind of a respectable football school at this point, because they obviously are a basketball school for what we've known. But beating Clemson, who has been in the playoffs, and beating Notre Dame, who's been in the playoffs as well, would be a huge mark for them. And then obviously Notre Dame wanting to get to playoffs with Hartman.
Now, putting on your Clemson hat, I'm going to ask you, obviously this is a non-conference game. In terms of Clemson finishing
I want Notre Dame to win this game.
You would really?
I want Notre Dame to be 8-1 when we play them.
Oh, I got you. Okay.
I want Notre Dame to be
Duke, because then that looks like a better loss.
No, I want at this point, as a Clemson fan, I don't think we're going to make the ACC title game. We have 2 losses. We would need all hell to break loose in the ACC for us to get in. Duke would need to lose 3 conference games. That's not happening. Yeah. And then we would need Florida State to lose 2.
I mean, I'm not saying it's impossible, but you got to remember, like I said, I mentioned Florida State and North Carolina, and they play both Wake Forest and Louisville.
But we would have to rematch Duke in the ACC title game pretty much, because I don't see Duke losing 3 games to NC State, Florida State, Louisville, Wake Forest, North Carolina.
I don't think Florida State is going to drop. Yeah.
So Florida State would have to lose 2 times.
Either one of them to lose, 3.
So we would need Florida State to lose to either a team like Syracuse, Duke, Miami, one of those. We would need them to lose 2 of those 3 out of Syracuse, Duke, and Miami. I don't think it's going to happen.
Now you just want the best.
I kind of want to just play the spoiler. Like if Notre Dame is, number 7 or 8 when we play them, and we're able to beat them, then we might jump up to, 15 or 16 and still be able to kind of solidify ourselves in a respectable bowl game, But I think if USC and Duke beats Notre Dame and you're looking at a 5-3 or 6-3 Notre Dame team, it's not the same sort of like hype for that game. So I would hope that they're 8-1 when we play them, but that's enough about Clemson. Obviously, looking forward to this game day matchup. Duke versus Notre Dame.
I'm not gonna lie. I'm shocked that this was the game day game, but I'm glad that a school like Duke, like you mentioned, a basketball school, gets a lot of attention for basketball. Is getting a game day. This game is at Duke, and I'm surprised. I only mentioned being surprised because obviously Notre Dame
just got it.
Yeah, they were. Well, I'm saying this. Yeah, so the same team twice, even though we're talking 2 different locations. Notre Dame was just there. I probably wouldn't have picked them to be back-to-back game day.
My pick would have been LSU Ole Miss.
Yeah, so I'm a little shocked by that, but hopefully it's a really good game. I guess this is our opportunity to see if that Clemson win was a fluke or if this Duke team is for real.
So, do you think if Duke loses by 21, like how would you feel about them?
Oh, I don't know. I mean, so based off of, and I think it's harder for me only because I didn't watch the Duke Clemson game. I only seen the score. So if I saw the game and I was like, that was such a fluky game, and then you lose by 21 in Notre Dame, I'd probably say, yeah, you're probably not at that level. But if you just look at the score, then you say, okay, then it's a matter of which one's a fluke. Then I'd probably take it to the Florida State game. And I say, okay, let's see what they are against Florida State, because I don't want to say they're as good as their best day or as bad as their worst. Let's see what they are when we add one more good game to the mix. And like I said, because I didn't see that game, it's hard for me to judge them in that way. But based off of what you said, I'd kind of put it as, yeah, they're not at the level of those elite teams.
What would you say about a Notre Dame loss? What would that make you feel about Notre Dame?
I think, I'd probably put it more on a little bit of hangover from last week's very close loss, a game that they probably felt like they had won. I'd probably put it as a little bit more of a hangover, but I would think they need to drop pretty far. And I think, as we mentioned, Notre Dame being 11 and still in contention for playoff consideration, I think their season would be theoretically done at that point. Not theoretically, their idea of playing for a playoff is over. And then you'll start to hear the mess talk about Notre Dame and losing big games and things of that nature.
Yeah. Well, hopefully it's a good one. If you guys have stuck around with us this far, please do us a favor, like, comment, subscribe, hit that notification bell. We drop college football content every single day. We have a pickem and a Discord. Links are in the description. We're going to be dropping our Colorado versus USC preview tomorrow. And then we have our live show at 8 p.m. Eastern on Thursday, predicting all of Week 5's matchups. So we hope to see you guys there. We appreciate you guys so much. Thank you guys for tuning in with us, and we will see you guys tomorrow. Peace out.